What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the PhDJ podcast with me, Joe Bunn, and who's that right there?
What's going on, Joe? This is Mike.
There he is.
How's everybody doing?
Oh, guys, it's Mike.
Hey.
Shocking. 300 episodes later. So welcome.
We're closing in on 250.
Okay, all right.
That's the next milestone.
That's the milestone.
That's the next one where we'll pat ourselves on the back and talk about how great we
did
are.
it. Blow my head up.
Nobody else is telling us, so we're going to tell each other.
Exactly. Hype each other up. We hype each other up to keep it going. So, so welcome back to another episode, everybody. Thanks, as always, for being here. We planted this seed, golly, a month or two ago.
Well, Richie first sent us the idea. Richie Stedman, our official producer, on June 30th. So that's how long ago. It's basically took all summer to finally get some tips.
July, August. Wow. Yeah. 2 months and 2 days to get that going. But we asked listeners, you guys, to send in a few tips that you do. Not necessarily even DJ related, just things you do once you arrive, between when you arrive and when you leave a wedding, let's say. We got a few, and then Mike and I are going to sprinkle in some of ours. And, we're just going to rip through some of these tips. And again, I think that these are, I look at these as things that will get you on a preferred vendor list if you're not already there, and or keep you there for potentially a lifetime unless you do something incredibly stupid. Mike, you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree. Although I think we need to go back. I know we've talked about this a few times.
Yeah.
We need to understand what gets us on a vendor list. And I know I told a story where I had a banquet manager who refers us say to me, well, I love your guys. I'm like, great. You get out so quickly.
Yeah, I love that story.
That's why. And I'm like, great. That's why you're recommending me. But so we think, hey, we throw great parties. We pack the dance floor. And that's why I'm recommended here. Maybe, but maybe not. So
you get out in 20 minutes so they can go home.
Exactly, right.
Damn.
Right. Anyway.
That's a good one.
You want to start? You want me to start?
No, you run it. Yeah,
did you get Richie's? Did he send? Let's start with Richie's. Okay. Even though it's an end of the night tip. Okay. Richie Stedman again, our unofficial producer. Get the clip from Happy Gilmore. Go home. Are you too good for your home? Go home. It's fun when people won't clear out at the end of the event. And then he drops that. I guess he drops.
Oh,
that,
like a little sound clip or something, right there.
Right. Yeah.
Do you
I don't know the movie, so I don't.
Yeah,
know
I know. I remember the movie. I don't remember that clip.
Is that an Adam Sandler? Is that the golfing?
It's Sandler. Yeah, the golf movie. Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah.
Do you ever? I mean, do you ever do anything like that, Mike? Like a clear the room type thing?
No.
Did you ever?
No.
So you make. Do y'all do a lot of sparkler exits or glow sticks or whatever?
Not a lot. A third, maybe.
See, I feel like ours is like in the upper.
So when you play the last song, you're basically saying, "Everybody, I need you outside for the sparkler exit."
Correct. Yeah. And I remember when I was, and I think it was the mentor that I followed, this guy named Davis Lane that I bought all my gear from when I was 13 or 14. I feel like he used to play Happy Trails or something at the end. And for years when I was a kid, I thought that was what you did.
So in other words, the gig ends at 11.
Yeah.
And you play a party song up until 11.
Sure.
And at 11:01, you drop Happy Trails.
Yeah, it was like in the background, like as like a beat it kind of song. You know what I mean?
I had a client ask me to do that this week with Closing Time from Semisonic.
Okay,
so she wanted Last Dance up until 11, and then at 11 I dropped Closing Time.
But as a full volume, like sing along, or
like 3/4. Yeah.
Okay.
And people were basically saying goodbye, and so it was meaningless, but I mean, that's what you wanted. And
but that song has gone off for you, right?
I will often close the night with that.
Sure. Same. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. That's okay. Tip. I just got a phone call on this. So, Mike, do y'all do a lot of what we call down here room flips? In other words, the ceremony is in the same room.
Often.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if the ballrooms were that big or whatever. So here, especially in July and August, it's miserable outside.
Right.
So a lot of the ceremonies are inside, and then they'll move the guests to another part of this venue, flip the room, and whatever. I saw, I was doing laundry a couple of days ago. It was evening. It was late, like after hours, and I see a phone call from a wedding planner. I'm like, she either needs to book me or something's wrong. And I'm like, oh, boy. hey, what's up, Sean? She's like, hey, I got to tell you something. I'm like, oh, Jesus. You know, like the way she started was not, I was like, this is not going well. And she was like, that kid, David, that came and ran the photo booth was, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. It was like outstanding.
Wow.
She was like, she was like, I've never met him before. He had the best manners. He wanted to be there. He was dressed professionally. And she said, when we were flipping the room, you know, his photo booth was already set up. He's over there helping us. Yeah. Yep. He's over there flipping the room. And she goes, you need to hire him as a DJ. You need to make him your fire Randy, hire this guy. I'm like, geez, she was hyping this kid up so hard. And, it just made me feel great. She goes, I thought you needed to know, so I personally wanted to call you. And of course, I called him and I said, dude, you just got the highest marks from a veteran. This woman's been, planning as long as I've been DJing. And so it was just one of those things. And it was, he probably moved a few chairs and, rolled in a couple of tables or something. I mean, nothing, he didn't even break a sweat. And so
even if there's not a room flip involved, I will offer, for example, sometimes my banquet managers 10 minutes before the doors open are pouring champagne.
Sure.
And I'll say, hey, do you want a hand? 99% of the time they say no. I get credit for offering. I don't have to do anything. But yeah, there are times where like, oh my God, we're far behind here. Can you, So yeah, I mean, you're standing around doing nothing in that time anyway.
You're set, right.
Yeah, exactly. Great tip. Great one.
Go for it, Mike.
So Joe Calamaris, loyal day one listener. Thank you, Joe. We appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Always great stuff. Since you invited topics, I've never heard an episode on icebreakers or clever ways to include and entertain guests along the way outside of music. This might be an entire episode in and of itself.
Could be.
So he's not offering a tip. He's asking for advice. And I mean, we don't really do a lot of stuff like that. The shoe game is probably the newlywed game, the shoe game.
Yeah.
It's probably the only thing at weddings that we really kind of do.
I did that last weekend.
Outside of music. And it can be fun. You can have a good time with it.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessarily an icebreaker. I don't know that doing that then leads to people getting up and dancing, but it certainly can be and I'm using air quotes here for people, just a filler. You can fill 7 to 10 minutes with a fun, something like that, get to know the bride and groom. But I don't know. Do you have any off the top of your head? I know I didn't prep you on that. Do you have any others?
I really don't, Mike. Even when I was asked, to do the shoe game this past weekend, and they did provide a really good list of questions, to be fair, I was nervous. I mean, it had been a while since I'd this had a lot of moving parts for a small crowd, so you got to really kind of control that small crowd.
Right.
They did a hora, and then they did this Ukrainian dance, and then they wanted to do the shoe game, and they had a lot of moments, if you will. It wasn't like Joe Bunn just rip it for 3 hours kind of thing. But I don't, man. I mean, I loved it. I saw a lot of comments recently about a shoe game where people don't make them change the shoes anymore. They have like a little bride or groom kind of card they hold up. I mean, I just told them to swap shoes. I didn't get that memo that wasn't the COVID-friendly thing to do anymore. But
well, I mean, for the bride and groom, it shouldn't matter.
Right, that's
one
what I
of
was
them has COVID. They both have COVID.
Exactly.
And by the way, I want to read what Joe wrote, because he phrases this so well. He wrote, "I try to layer myself into the fabric of the day."
Jeez.
As a host.
Joe.
Making guests feel included and not just spectators.
That's
I love that, Joe. I think
do too.
That's a great way of thinking about it. Instead of stealing attention, just being a part of the fabric of the day.
We've talked about that. Yeah, Mike and I have talked about that so often, and it's we understand it's not our day, but we also understand we're a focal point. We need to be smiling in the background. We need to have our cables looking good. We need to we know that we have eyes on us, put it that way. And so it's not necessarily about stealing. It's being in the fabric. I like that, Joe. Cool.
Yeah.
Mike, and you've reprimanded me multiple times for this, and I still don't know why I don't do it. You're a very good lately, especially in the last couple 3 years, about hitting Serato record, whether it be the end of a dance set or during a mixed cocktail set or something. Is that something, and this is a Randy B tip, my guy that works for me for the last 2 decades, is that something, Mike, that you will then, not only do you share with us, the world, but do you specifically send them a link at the end of the wedding and go, here's the last hour of your dancing. I thought you might enjoy this.
Yeah.
Or do you just hope they're following you on social?
No. I usually do it when I reach out for the wedding wire review.
Okay.
Which is often 2 weeks if they've gone on a honeymoon, or shorter if there's no honeymoon. But I'll send my typical, hey, you guys were so complimentary after the wedding. I was wondering if you would offer me, and then P.S. I recorded, the after cake dance set, or I recorded your last hour, I recorded your opening set.
Right.
Here it is if you'd like to hear it and share it. And I often get compliments about that.
And I've even, Randy even goes a step further, Mike. What he does is, I think he actually hits record.
He's still recording the whole show.
At doors open. Doors open. So he's got, and this has led to so many memorable things being captured. For example, if you don't have a videographer, a grandfather's toast that passed away a month after the wedding or something, where people will reach back out to Randy and be like, that recording is the last memory or voice we heard of my grandfather. He ended up passing a month after the wedding or something like that. So
I heard Randy share that tip at the second PhDJ workshop that we did.
Yes.
And I started doing it. I only did it for maybe a month or so. I was literally getting no reaction from my clients.
Really?
Clients weren't even, I never even got it. And I just thought, why am I doing this?
And it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, it's right. Exactly. I have thought about getting a second. I think my problem is psychologically, I don't want to record 4 hours on Serato. So I've thought about getting, like videographers do, getting an outboard.
Like a Zoom or something.
Yeah, Zoom, and just record and hitting play before. Because there have been a couple times where halfway through a dance set, I went, "Oh shit! I wish I had hit record on this because it's a cool set, and I just did a unique mix or something like that." So if I just got into the habit of recording every single show beginning to end, then I don't even know if I'd get back to sending that to the clients. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. If I have it, maybe I should anyway. But that's something I should implement right away because I've been thinking about it. I'm sure those Zooms aren't that expensive.
No, they're like $2.99 or something like that.
Yeah. Good tip.
All right.
So Mark Dancer, who is a greetings from Columbus, Ohio, longtime wedding DJ and a fan of the PhDJ podcast. Thank you, Mark. Again, this is more of a question than a tip, but his topic, he thought this would be for an entire show. And again, maybe we can flesh it out, but his topic idea was who's running the show, staying in your lane. In my market, very few wedding planners weddings have planners, and there is a common problem with wedding timelines dragging or meandering. So I'm just going to offer this tip, Mark, and to anyone else listening. I hate timelines. Timelines are fraught with errors. I've never seen a wedding stick to a timeline. I think instead of saying, give me a timeline or let's put a time, put together an order of events. This is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to. What time is it going to happen?
Chronological order.
Generally, like if your reception is 7 to 11, what time are you walking out to do bridal party introductions? 7:15, 7:20, 7. You can't possibly know the answer to that question. There are just way too many variables. So when you see a timeline that says 7 o'clock doors open, 7:15 intros, right off the bat, it's going to be wrong. It's probably not going to be 7:15 that I walk out and start. So forget the timeline, put together a chronological, these are the order of events. And if you're dealing with a very anal couple that needs to know times, emphasize to them, listen, I'll give you a general idea, but we can't stick to this. Don't have a watch on you. Don't be thinking about it because you're only going to add some stress to the day.
I couldn't agree more, Mike. I even say that, like in that final, we call it the advanced meeting, you call it the final planning meeting or whatever. I just tell them, I said, let me explain something. Adam White's calling. He's huge on TikTok, by the way. He and his kid.
I know.
He was calling me last night to give me tips, but I was trying to make Davis go to sleep. Anyway, where was I? Shit. Where were we, Mike?
So we're talking about timelines.
Right. So, and I tell him, I say, listen, Kelly, like, don't worry about the times. Worry about the chronology of the events. You know what I mean? Like this, I said, all we care about as the DJ is this comes after this, comes after this. And that if it's a special moment and has a song, it's X song and you want it played for X many minutes. You know what I mean? And that's all that matters. And that eventually we are going to get to dancing and we're going to do our damn best to keep it on track, and we know that that's the most important thing to you. It is for most of the clients that hire me personally. They're like, we don't give a shit about X, X, and X. We want to get to the part where it's open dancing and you go. Right. And we don't want any more stops.
And that's the second part of what Mark was asking. I wonder how you and Joe handle things when your couple has become oblivious to their timeline and guests are getting restless.
Yeah.
Man, and I talked about this at the programming seminar that I did in Atlantic City and Chicago this past year. Even if you only have 10 minutes, get people up and dancing. Yeah. Like if the maitre d' or the catering staff or whatever comes out to you, if it's 7:50 and they say, "Hey, I got dinner at 8:00," that's 10 minutes. Get people dancing. But you know what I mean? Like a 10-minute set is still worth 10 minutes of people sitting around going, "Why is this DJ not playing it? Like what's happening right now?" And often, as I pointed out, if they tell you dinner's coming out at 8, at 7:58, they might go, we're running behind you. So you got to. So ready. Now this 10-minute set has become a 15-minute set or a 20-minute set because you've already got them dancing. So when Mark says, "What do you do when guests are restless?" I don't know, because that never happens at my parties. If I have a window, I'm getting people dancing.
Different down here, I guess. I mean, I guess I would. It depends, Mark. One, it would be like, okay. Is there a wedding planner, like a pro wedding planner, And I would ask her or him, hey, what are we waiting on? Oh, well, catering's getting ready to come out, or the best man ran to the restroom, or something like that. I agree with Mike. If you had a void and you could fill it with dancing, regardless of what time it was in the evening, then fill it with dancing. And again, you don't have to come out with levels of Avicii, but you could come out with Let's Stay Together, Al Green, or something, and kind of work from that. We don't do a lot of dancing before dinner. It has happened at the last few weddings I've done. Ironically, I as soon as I hear people talk, I'm like, these are New Yorkers or these are New Englanders.
Right.
And exactly, they expect it. And I'm like, oh, this is happening. Like I start like rechanging up my format. Like we're dancing before dinner. Okay, I'm down with this. But I guess also what I would say, Mark, is I'm also very good at noticing it. Mike, tell the cigarette story from
So when I first started DJing back in the late 80s at Star DJs, one of the tips that we were taught was when dinner is served, as dinner is coming to an end, you'll know dinner is coming to an end when you start seeing the cigarette smoke rising above the crowd. And it was true back then. Because, a good majority of the people smoked, and you were allowed to smoke indoors. And so that was a tip. And even though that tip has become outdated because you can't smoke indoors anymore, what that tip taught me was programming is all about observation. So, dinner is coming to an end nowadays. First of all, you can just look around and see people. But when the conversation starts rising,
volume. I was about to say the volume of the convo goes
when people are eating, they're not talking. But as they finish eating, they put their stuff down and they start talking. So
I hear
when
plates,
the din in the room goes up, that's your clue to just start getting people up.
I hear that. Yep, I hear the volume of the conversations go up. I hear plates and forks and rattling around. It's like, okay, now I need to go into gear. Right. And so if there is some gap or there's some stall or the bride went to change into the after party dress or whatever, I think it's also important to be a good MC and to instead of just standing there, let that din get louder and louder, let people start looking at their watches, let them try and decide if they're going to go relieve their babysitter or if they even want to be there for the dance segment. I'll say, hey guys, hope you enjoyed your dinner. In about 5 minutes, Chris, the best man's going to be giving his toast. Make sure you've got a drink in your hand. We're getting ready to get things going. So there's this, again, it's almost that same thing we've talked about before, Mike, when like you've gone through like 5 or 6 dance set songs and either you get a request for a slow song or you got to do the anniversary dance and it's going to bring that bum, 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 bum down to, and it's like you talk over that. Like, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to slow it down for one song, let you catch your breath, or if you want to grab the person you came with, come on out here and slow dance or whatever. Right. One slow dance. Like I'll even say, just one. Like, or sometimes you even get that like, oh, and it's like, hey folks, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like it's like, like I got 2.5 hours more to fill. Like, calm down. Like,
in our market, we often do cake cutting with an hour left in the night, and so I often have the dance floor peaked. And sometimes when I say give yourselves a big hand, we're going to take a quick break in the dancing for cake cutting. I get that same and that's great. I agree, folks. We're going to do this quick. We'll get you back up in a minute. Yeah, I love that. So anyway, that's just my advice there, Mark, is clients, guests should never be restless, you know?
Yep. And I guess another one of mine, and I did a crap job. I apologize to people that sent in a few things of archiving these properly, but what we call at Bunn DJ Company the check-ins. So again, let's just say a typical order here would be introduction, first dance, possibly even parent dances, maybe a brief welcome, maybe a blessing, dinner of whatever sort, stations. The check-in with that couple, you know, when that first little bit is happening, so the dinner music starts, they finally get to sit down, maybe they got their salads, they're getting ready to start eating finally. We just walk over, and it's not even a conversation. It's not a, you know, I don't want any kind of like disruption. You know those people that get in their ear and don't even allow. I just literally go over a little closer to the table and just give them like one of those kind of
everything cool,
everything good, our thumbs up, and they go perfect, volume okay, music perfect, Joe, great introduction, whatever. They, sometimes it's literally they just thumbs up back. I walk back to the booth and I'm chilling.
And Joe, I will tell you this. I didn't mean to interrupt there, but
no, fine, go.
I have seen that mentioned numerous times on our Wedding Wire reviews. Dan Famosa was phenomenal. As a matter of fact, he checked in with us a couple times throughout the night to make sure we were okay.
Yeah,
definitely, absolutely, man.
The check-in, check-in is key, and again, it goes down the line with the caterer. With the wedding planner, with the photographer. Is the photographer in the room for this? The check-in, we'll just call it that, it transcends literally about 6 or 7 different potential vendors from the videographer to the couple, and it is absolutely an imperative thing to do during a reception.
Very cool. Very cool. So I'm going to add one of my own personal ones.
Yeah, please.
And this is going to drop September 8th, I guess, September 9th. So 2 days before 9/11. And when 9/11 first happened, we, especially here in the Northeast, we were asked by a number of clients, can we do a moment of silence? And we still get that every once in a while. I think my wedding on September 11th asked me the same question. Here's my standard reply if couples ask for, hey, can we do a moment of silence? And whether it might not be for 9/11, it might be for, my grandmother just passed away.
Sure.
My suggestion is that should be done during the ceremony. Find a moment during the ceremony. Maybe you can light a candle for your grandmother, or maybe your officiant can do, hey, let's pause here for a moment of silence, because it interrupts the celebration. It's really hard to do a moment of silence for a passing or something as tragic like 9/11 and then go, okay, folks, let's get up and party. You know what I mean? So I offer that as advice. And if the client says, you know what though, Mike, not everyone's coming to the ceremony, and fine, then time it going into dinner.
Sure.
So again, in other words, we've danced people in my market before dinner. We've done at least 1, sometimes 2 dance sets. If they insist on doing a moment of silence, then that's when I do it. Ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a big hand. Great way to get the party started. Ron and Tracy have asked me to take a moment of silence here so we can remember the people who passed on September 11th, 2001. So boom, do your moment of silence. Thank you, everybody. Main course is on its way out. Enjoy your dinner. Because the hardest thing to do is to go from even if you just go into a slow song, hardest segue from that is into, okay, now we're going to invite people up to the dance floor. It just seems trivial and it's hard. It's a bad segue. So suggested it be done during a ceremony, but if they insist during the reception, do it going into dinner.
Damn, that's a great one, man. Yeah. That's a great one. Hey, Mike, can I ask you just it's a little bit on topic. What is your standard response for I'm going to just give like 2 examples. Somebody with HLR 9677 left their lights on in the parking lot, or somebody lost an earring on the dance floor, or somebody dropped their cell phone. Here it is.
I make those announcements as soon as possible. I'll do it over the break of a song. I'll do it on the intro
you will
of a
do
song.
It.
Absolutely. Why not?
I don't know, because I feel like it happens and I'm like in the moment and I'm DJing and it's going off and I'm like, do I really have to make this announcement?
Yeah.
Or and I normally do, but it's
I mean, you can, especially with a cell phone. I usually make a little bit of a joke about it, folks. Somebody lost their cell phone. How could you lose your cell phone nowadays? I thought it was always attached to you. But anyway, this person lost their cell phone. So you
and hold it up. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I had years ago, a waitress came up to me and said, "Hey, there's a car with a flat tire out in the parking lot. Can you make the announcement?" So I just grabbed a piece of paper and I go, "Ladies and gentlemen, if you own a Ford license plate for..." Never mind, it's my car. I was literally reading my car's announcement.
You lie.
I swear to God this happened to me, Joe. But thank God that waitress told me, because I called AAA during the gig.
Yeah.
Rather than me getting out at 11 o'clock and then going, oh, shit, I got a flat tire.
Right.
But I literally just grabbed the piece of paper. I go, folks, if you have a Ford Explorer license plate, never mind, it's my car. So, I will make that announcement immediately.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah.
all these episodes. That's first time I've heard it. Yeah. Any more, Mike? I'm out of tips.
I don't, but let's say this. If our listeners have liked this and have tips to share, we have no problem doing a part 2 of this. So
yes.
But as Joe just pointed out, it's really difficult to keep track. So send us an email, Mike at Elite Entertainment, or what's your preferred email, Joe?
Joe at BunnDJCompany.com.
Okay, and just write in the in the subject line "tips episode," so that if we accumulate a few of these a month from now, we can search our email tips episode and we'll find the 3 or 4 each that we got. So if you're a listener and you're like, oh shit, I wish I could have included this, then send us a tip.
Or if you didn't hear yours, it's because it got lost in the madness of DMs on Instagram, Facebook. Email. Somebody texted me.
I think I found all of mine, but if I didn't, I apologize.
I'm not going to lie. I did not. Yeah. So please, Joe at BunnDJCompany.com. Please resend it. We will do another one of these episodes in the very near future, and I apologize if it got lost in the shuffle.
Very cool. And are we teasing next week, or do you have that guy lined up to speak?
1 second. I know he's on. I think he's a couple time zones off, so it would be super early for him. Let's not tease it. Let's not tease it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. But we've got some great episodes
planned. Which is
in fact, I just came up.
We have no idea what we're going to talk about.
No. I got a couple. Like during this episode, I wrote down a couple. You're going to be proud of me when we finish recording. I'll tell you. All right. So thank you guys for listening, and keep listening, man. We love you guys. Appreciate it. Later.
Thanks.